Thanks for joining us for this look at some of the best stories from KPBS News this week. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Coming up, healthcare access might be stripped away from DACA recipients. Meet a local med school grad caught up in a recent move by the Trump administration. Racial disparities in prison sentences. Activists call out San Diego's history of allowing some convicts a chance at parole and not others. And there are some new things to see at Petco Park. We'll give you a look inside as the Padres start the 2025 season. We start in Poway, where the mood is tense these days at City Hall. Just a few months since taking office, a new city council member is facing a recall effort. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen tells us what led up to this.
But sadly, this is typical Blaine behavior.
Tony Blaine's been on the Poway City Council for 3 months. In that time, he's been accused of vote trading and threatening and harassing city staffers and other officials, including City Attorney Alan Festermacher, who lashed out during a council meeting in January.
I am no longer going to be intimidated by you, Councilmember Blaine. I don't give a flying if you fire me, because I will not take this lying down anymore. You are a bully. You've been harassing me for months, and I've tried to be professional, and this is enough.
It's making a mockery of our local government.
Former Poway Council member Anita Edmondson says Blaine's actions and behaviors since taking office are disturbing and jarring.
People thought they were voting for a certain person, and what they were seeing was alarming.
Blaine was censured or publicly reprimanded last month.
You have brought it upon yourself.
And now Edmondson and others, including former council member John Mullen, have launched a recall effort.
The district attorney is investigating potential felony allegations, criminal, that he has wanted to trade votes and then extorted council members who wouldn't vote the way he wanted.
The DA's office says it cannot confirm any investigations. Blaine declined an interview but says this via text and email. Write anything you want. Political lies and attacks are irrelevant and don't work. That's my quote. Blaine was served the NOI, or Notice of Intent for a Recall, at the March 18th meeting. The Registrar of Voters accepted the petition on Tuesday, triggering a 7-day period for Blaine to respond.
There was people signed the NOI that voted for him. It didn't take long for them to realize that we have a problem and we need to fix it.
The group hopes to be able to start collecting signatures for a recall campaign by the end of April. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
An investigation has revealed stark differences in how white and black people are sentenced in robbery murders under a former San Diego district attorney. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson says nearly all the black defendants are serving life without parole.
When Layla Aziz moved back to San Diego, she wondered where the people she grew up with went. She discovered a few were convicted of murder during a robbery, something called felony murder special circumstances. Even if they didn't commit the murder, if they were part of the robbery, it was life without parole, a sentence to die in prison.
How do you get a death sentence if you didn't kill anyone?
California laws recently changed. People can now appeal for resentencing if they weren't the actual killer, or if they can prove racial bias in their case. So Aziz filed a public records request for all robbery murder cases with defendants between 18 and 25 years old at the time of the crime. She chose that because before 25, the decision-making part of the brain hasn't fully developed. All under Paul Pfingst, San Diego's district attorney from 1995 to 2003. Similar cases, apples to apples. She found many white defendants who could have been charged with special circumstances never were, or were given plea deals for lesser charges. Some cases were missing.
And that's when we realized we're not going to get the data just from the DA. We're going to have to dig.
By we, she means the nonprofit she runs, Pillars of the Community. They analyzed mass amounts of data, filed more records requests, visited courts, combed through archives. KPBS did the same. A clear pattern emerged. 13 out of 15 white defendants in robbery murder cases, killers and non-killers, were given the chance at parole, including one convicted of brutally murdering a Latino man. A witness said he bragged about earning his bolts, a common white supremacist tattoo. 11 out of 12 black defendants, killers and non-killers, were given life without parole.
When you're looking at people, not even numbers anymore, I know all of their names by heart. When you're looking at people and you see them treated differently by the same exact system, you're like, separate but equal, Plessy versus Ferguson, Jim Crow, it all feels the same.
The data show it wasn't one problem judge, one overeager attorney, or even prior convictions. It was a racial pattern. Aziz traces a line from life without parole sentences to lynching trees.
We called it strange fruit because it reminded us of where we were 50, 60 years ago and where we said as a country we were not going to go back to.
This is brought to you by Pillars of the Community.
Pillars decided to hold what they call a people's tribunal.
To charge the district attorney the way they charge us, to subpoena the district attorney the way they subpoena us.
On a late January night, they put the current district attorney on mock trial. It was standing room only. Enlarged mugshots bordered the room.
Every single person has the same exact crime. Every single one of them. Look around the room.
Aziz pointed to a black man's mugshot.
That's a non-killer. Death or parole? Death.
Then to a white man's mugshot.
That man went to a jury and never had the fear of getting a death sentence because the DA doesn't even charge white folks like they charge us all the time. Why is that?
A lone representative from the DA addressed the room, Frank Jackson.
How did this happen? The answer to your question is, I don't know that answer, so I'm not going to make it up. That happened in, I think most of these will look like the 1998s and 2000s.
A district attorney spokesperson told KPBS the current office takes equal justice seriously. Quote, to suggest otherwise is reckless. They would not respond to any of KPBS's questions. Aziz won't let them off the hook because the district attorney has the power now to re-sentence these cases from life without parole to life with parole.
But she has chosen not to do it. So you can't fight to uphold Paul Finks's legacy of foundational racism and then say it was before your time.
Finks didn't respond to KPBS.
No one else should get a life without parole sentence between the ages of 18 through 25 until they figure out what's going on here.
At the People's Tribunal, they called witnesses, including Linda Whitley. Her son's mugshot was in the room. She asked Aziz to hold up what she sees as proof he's changed, college degrees he earned in prison.
Here's his bachelor's of art and communication. But Marquel is deemed to die in prison. He could never be rehabilitated. He could never be redeemed.
His court process was hard for her.
It was terrible because I didn't understand a lot of stuff they were saying.
Whitley was never taught to read. She doesn't fully understand the word parole. She just knows some people get to come home, and her son can't.
I know he can show the world now. He could be a better person now.
You have a prepaid call from
Marquel Smith. When I first came to prison,
Tomorrow, we'll hear his story, how it represents thousands of others, and what could be done to bring him home. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
And part 2 of that report is now available on the KPBS YouTube page, and you can find more of Katie Hyson's coverage on race and equity in San Diego on our website, kpbs.org. The Trump administration wants to make it easier to revoke health insurance access for certain immigrants. A proposed rule would do so by excluding DACA recipients from the definition lawfully present. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco talked to a local med school grad who would be affected.
Ali Tarabi is a DACA recipient and a medical school graduate. He knows what it's like to go without health insurance.
I had my Achilles rupture last year, and unfortunately, I was not covered. I didn't have health care at that time.
He starts his residency in a few months.
So, knock on wood, that nothing extraordinary happens and nothing crazy happens, and I'll have access to health care soon.
In November, a Biden administration rule change expanded Affordable Care Act health insurance access to DACA recipients. They argued it would reduce delays in care, improve the ACA's risk pool, and make them more productive members of society. But the Trump administration now argues that those benefits don't mean they qualify as lawfully present.
it will have direct effects on the families and on the DACA recipients. If you don't have money now for a doctor, you take it from rent, you take it from food, you take it from the transportation.
Alor Calderon is director of the Employee Rights Center in San Diego. He says the proposed change is already creating confusion.
If you had coverage, you still have coverage. If you already submitted an application for something and still going forward, nothing is being stopped.
Nicolas Espiritu is with the National Immigration Law Center. He says this isn't just about deferred action for childhood arrival recipients. It affects the whole healthcare system.
So they were, once again, buying into the healthcare exchange systems as generally younger individuals, the type of individuals who insurance companies and healthcare providers know they have to have as part of their insurance packages in order to bring costs down for everybody.
Studies show that the uncertainty around the DACA program is taking a toll on recipients' mental health, but many struggle to access care.
I am seeing a lot of my community members who feel hopeless, who are afraid, who ultimately and sadly do not have access to, mental health professionals.
A National Immigration Law Center survey of DACA recipients found that 21% said immigration-related stress caused their health to decline. 12% avoided medical care out of fear it could affect their status.
I fell in love in this country. I had my first kiss in this country. I am literally just as interwoven into the fabrics of this country and this culture as any other person. But I'm at a place now where I have to start considering my mental health, my personal well-being, and the safety of myself and my family.
The rule is in the proposal stage. Public comments are open until April 11th. For now, the future of healthcare access for DACA recipients remains uncertain. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
Certain zip codes in San Diego and Imperial counties will get more scrutiny when it comes to remittances. That's when people wire cash to another country, often to family members. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis says privacy experts have serious concerns.
It is the opposite of what Trump has promised to do with deregulation, and it raises a whole host of civil liberty questions.
That's Aaron Klein, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. He's talking about the administration's decision to lower the threshold required to flag suspicious cash transfers from $10,000 down to just $200. The new threshold only applies to money service businesses like Western Union or MoneyGram, not big banks. Klein says that it will impact immigrants who regularly send remittances to family members back home.
But this is going to pick up everybody who sends their mom $300, $400, $500, $600, $1,000 for Mother's Day. New immigrants who send smaller dollar amounts more frequently, but a lot of established immigrants who send things home.
The Treasury Department did not respond to a request for comment, but it did issue a statement saying, quote, "Combating drug cartels and stopping the flow of deadly drugs into the United States is one of the administration's highest priorities." The new regulation is drawing criticism across the political spectrum. Nicholas Anthony from the libertarian-leaning Cato Institute calls it a form of financial surveillance.
They want to know your name, your address, your social security number, and also the information for the other party. That is why it is so concerning when we as individual people do not get to consent to who has access to it.
Experts also worry that money service businesses may increase prices to cover the added cost of the new regulation. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
The Vista Unified School District is expanding its Spanish language immersion program. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas says interest from local families is driving the change.
Es 12 por 2.
In Vanessa Mendoza's math class at Alamosa Park Elementary, her students aren't just learning geometry. They're also practicing Spanish.
Este lado es más grande que este lado. Entonces, ¿dónde lo voy a poner?
This is one of 9 classrooms at the elementary school where students are learning in both English and Spanish.
It helps you understand what other people are saying, and it also, I've read that learning other languages helps you not forget things when you get older, and also that it's just fun.
3 elementary schools and 1 middle school currently offer dual language immersion. The district plans to expand the program to additional grade levels and a second middle school campus next year, and a high school campus in 2 years.
Our families have been very supportive of the program. They don't want this to be a K-5 experience. They want to have this at the middle school level and moving into high school.
Program Director Rafael Olavide says it serves both English speakers looking to learn a second language and students from Spanish-speaking families who want to preserve that skill.
You have families who have moved into the United States, and when they visit their country of origin and a Spanish-speaking country, sometimes the communication is an issue because they have been in a system that has been monolingual, and they have been actually not been able to keep their mother language.
Expanding the program will involve hiring more bilingual teachers. Partnerships with local universities have helped meet the needs so far.
I'm not going to say that it's been easy, but definitely we have done a very good job with our HR department to promote our district.
No, 24 más 4 no es 10.
Oh, okay. That's where I got Most Alamosa Park students speak English at home. The program started with 1 kindergarten class and 1 first grade class in 2020. Elise Peterman was one of those first graders.
Starting early definitely helps, so later on, you know more words, and it's easier because your brain is still growing and you can get that into your mind.
Studying subjects like math and science and Spanish can be challenging. Students say the key is being patient with yourself.
Just relax and just go with the flow.
District leaders are looking to recruit more teachers at the California Association of Bilingual Education Conference this week. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Sign up for our newsletters to get a list of our most popular stories. And here are some from this week. ICE raids an El Cajon paint shop accused of knowingly hiring workers without legal status. One of the stories you saw earlier, new regulations on money transfers will likely impact the San Diego border region. And the longtime voice of San Diego sports signs off. Padres fans went home happy on opening day with a win over the Atlanta Braves. The team is expecting big crowds all year, and they'll see some updates around Petco Park. Melissa May shows us some of what's new at the stadium.
Fans of all ages are feeling good about the Padres this season.
I'm very pumped. I'm ready for this new season and see what happens. Hope we bring that trophy here. I'm ready.
Winning.
Why?
Because we need to.
What's your favorite part about being a Padres fan?
Seeing them win.
I have high hopes. There's a lot of other teams that have made some significant moves, so hopefully we'll do well against them.
The Padres made some moves too, but those aren't the only changes at Petco Park this year. The Western Meadow building may look the same on the outside, but the inside underwent a major renovation. On the first floor, the Padres' new Team Era store has expanded by 1,000 square feet. Jamie Castro says she's been a Padres fan her whole life and enjoys the store's atmosphere.
I love it.
Why?
Super spacious. I like the layout, easy to see everything. Everything's divided up perfectly. I really like it.
On the 5th floor, the Budweiser loft looks a lot different too. Santee resident and long-term Padres fan Steve Falwell says the vibe feels familiar, but he is impressed with the changes.
It's beautiful. I mean, it looks, I'm not sure how the lines are going to work out, but it's really an improvement from what it was.
The rooftop has been completely remodeled with all new sight lines into Petco too. Padres players enjoy opening day as much as the fans.
We're excited to get it going and, start off the year, in front of the best fan base in baseball. So, I think opening day in San Diego is one of the best ones. So, looking forward to today.
Melissa May, KPBS News.
San Diego is due for an update on how it designs its streets. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has a series of stories diving into the details. It is a balance of how to make car, bike, and pedestrian travel efficient and safe. Here are a couple of those reports.
On a cool September evening in 2021, Matt Keenan was riding his bike to a movie theater in Mission Valley. A driver was going the wrong way on the street and struck Matt head-on. He died almost instantly.
Had there been protection there, that driver probably would not have killed him.
Laura Keenan is Matt's widow. She founded Families for Safe Streets San Diego, which supports victims of traffic violence and advocates for safer street design. She says too often city traffic engineers design bike lanes with no barriers or buffer zones to protect cyclists from cars. Many bike lanes are within the so-called door zone, where drivers who just parked can fling open their doors into the bike lane and cause a collision. Other bike lanes are perpetually blocked by parked cars or delivery vehicles. Keenan says these are examples of the city designing streets for convenience over safety.
I don't think they think of it in those terms when they're making the decisions, but ultimately that's what is happening. And today, the street design manual does not dictate they must prioritize safety over convenience.
San Diego is preparing to update its street design manual. A draft released in December includes a wider range of options for designing bike lanes, but no strict policy on when physical protection is required.
Since the bike lanes have come in, we have seen our walk-by traffic decrease 95%.
Liz Saba owns a jewelry store on 30th Street in North Park, where the city installed protected bike lanes in 2021. She opposed the project because it required the removal of street parking. She says she supports bike safety, but thinks the city needs to better manage its scarce parking supply, say by installing more meters.
I think people are willing to pay to park. I think they will come if there's more parking meters in place, and I think that would be a good solution for everyone.
Andrew Bowen, KPBS News. Congress legalized right turn on red a half-century ago, believe it or not, in response to the oil crisis of 1973. The idea was to conserve gasoline by reducing vehicle idling at intersections. But a recent study from several California universities found the gas savings have been negligible. SDSU city planning professor Bruce Appleyard co-authored the study, which also found right turn on red is generally unsafe.
So this is one of the big problems with right turn on red collisions. This is sort of the operational side of it, that the driver is looking left at oncoming traffic and failing to see the pedestrian right in front of them or the cyclist right in front of them.
San Diego is preparing an update to its street design manual with new guidelines for when to prohibit right turn on red, particularly in areas with high pedestrian traffic. Appleyard says that could do more than just prevent collisions. It could also make neighborhoods more walkable.
It's not just about safety, but it's also about comfort and livability for pedestrians and cyclists. So rather than just looking at the safety calculations and the quantitative side of things, look at the qualitative side of things. Look how places are much more comfortable.
The city's new street design manual is expected to go before the city council later this year. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Andrew Bowen has a podcast series all about freeways in San Diego, their forgotten history, and their impact on how the region will grow in the future. It's called Freeway Exit, and you can stream it wherever you get your podcasts. Being in the right place at the right time, and that describes the situation a San Diego woman found herself in recently. John Carroll says in this case, serendipity meant she was able to help save a life.
It was a couple of weeks ago on a rainy, windy day. Sophia Alexander found herself locked out of her Bay Park office. She had a Zoom meeting to attend, so she drove around the neighborhood to a quiet side street and parked.
I so happened to look over and I was like, what is that? It was like a little, I guess, fluffy thing. I thought it was a rock actually at first, but then it started moving. I was like, that's not a rock for sure.
For sure, it was not a rock. Alexander switched from Zoom to her camera, and this is what she saw.
I saw like a breathing pattern happening with this little fluffy guy. So I was like, is that like a bird? And it kind of resembled, I guess, an owl. I was like, is that a baby owl?
That's exactly what it was, a baby owl, a nestling. It had fallen out of its nest. Alexander says she called her supervisor, who told her not to worry about work to make sure the owl was okay. Meantime, the weather was taking a turn for the worst. She knew she had to do something, but she didn't want to scare the bird, so she went from camera to phone and called the San Diego Humane Society. They arrived about 20 minutes later.
So I made sure to stay here until they came to pick him up just to make sure he was good.
The nestling was brought here to the Humane Society's Wildlife Center, where it got a thorough looking over.
We take in sick, injured, and orphaned wildlife, so anything from an orphaned baby squirrel or possum to raptors that get hit by cars,
Chantal LaRose is the wildlife operations manager here. After determining the baby bird was okay, they wanted to get it back home as quickly as possible. The nest was located right above from where Sophia Alexander found the nestling.
Once we established that the nest was active, that the parents were still around, we got in contact with West Coast arborists.
West Coast arborists are indispensable when it comes to re-nesting birds. They have a cherry picker.
It's the only way that we could reach the nest. It's like 50 feet in the air.
The arborists saw that the nest was on the small side and there were already 2 nestlings in it, so they expanded the size of the nest and put the nestling back in. Back at the scene of the fall, and we saw the Humane Society had posted this notice informing people of the nest, and when we looked up, there she was, Mama Owl and one of the nestlings, and us humans down below, who hope the next time these babies leave the nest, they don't fall, but fly. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Oh, that's very sweet. And we hope that you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Thank you for joining us.